What's up, WWE Champions Universe? Welcome to Champions Chat, the fastest growing podcast dedicated to the WWE Champions mobile game. I'm the brawling brute, Ridge Holland, and with me, as always, the guy who doesn't know his name. Is he Butch? Is he Pete? It's Lee Brown. What's up, Lee?
You missed the obvious call out to my red hair that you could have gone Seamus. I know I'm not quite as pale, and I don't have quite. I mean, I used to have red hair, but it's gotten a little salt and ketchupy as my time
I,
on this earth has continued.
I feel like I called you Seamus during I think I even called you Dad Bod Seamus one week during
Yeah,
our.
that's right. I forgot about that. That's it's fitting. It was hurtful, but it's fitting.
He's shaved down the pounds and now he's looking super fit again.
Oh,
So
you're talking about Seamus. Oh, dang! I thought you were talking about
yeah,
me.
well, you
Darn.
too, you too. Most people don't know this, but Lee is actually a what is it? What degree black belt in Taekwondo? Second degree?
Second degree. Yeah,
Yeah.
although it's ironic because I did a lot of my training during the pandemic and also did a lot of stress eating because of everything going on. So
Oh,
the reality of like I'm at my worst like weight, but I'm at my best achievements at the same time is
Lee, did you
weird.
know I'm
So
actually in a much better shape than you are? Did you
yeah,
realize that? But the
what's up?
shape is round. I'm just in a better version of it.
Wow.
All right. Well, that's our intro banner. Hey, Lee, did you hear this? I don't know if you know this. Somebody screenshotted me a photo. There is now a faction called Champions Chat Podcast
Right?
that someone in the community started in WWE Champions. Did you know that we have our own faction now?
Well, I did. I saw it on our servers. Somebody posted it. I know who started it. It's someone who's in our chats with us. So
Nice.
I can't decide whether we're honored or whether it's copyright infringement, right? We always say
Well,
when we
maybe
ape DJ, we're like, whoa, copyright infringement.
maybe instead of recruiting for the Battletoads, now I start recruiting people to the Champions Chat faction, and so then we'll just take over the top 100, out of nowhere, like an RKO.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
that's
look at that, Lee.
awesome.
Wrestler is a purple belt in
I see
American
that.
Taekwondo. Where's purple
Nice.
rank as far as the rank up to black belt?
It's different. So we're in. I'm a part of the ITF, which is the original, Taekwondo that they spawned off
Oh,
of, and they don't have purple belts. They don't have brown belts. They don't have orange belts. So it really
okay,
just depends.
okay.
But basically ours, it'd probably be equivalent to either a blue belt, which would be ours goes white, yellow, green, blue, red, black, and then from black you have all the way up to ninth degree black. So
So this is a meta joke within a meta joke. Since a Crease said in the chat, if I see the Champions Chat podcast faction recruiting in the global chat, I'll be sure to
that's right.
reply with bad bad. So yes,
Oh, that's hilarious.
that is a multi-layered joke within a joke. I love it. I love it. Love it. Wrestler says he's three belts away from black. So we may
Wow.
have to set up a real life match, like a brawl for all, with all of our Champions Chat belt holders on a Monday night in Oklahoma City, kind of a central location. Maybe we can all converge, and Lee will take on any. It'll be a U.S. title open challenge, but you must wear your Taekwondo outfit and be ready to get whooped beyond measure.
Wow.
Is that okay that
Wow.
I just issued a nationwide, nay, a global challenge for you to fight all oncomers?
Wow. It's like I hear stories about the good old days a lot, and the founder of the American version of the Taekwondo, the international version is a different guy, Choi Han Hai, but they used to actually have like where you could battle for your dojo and different things like that. And this guy, I mean, legitimately was a tough dude. He just died about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. But legitimately, he has fought Chuck Norris on multiple occasions.
He
Uh, you
lived.
know,
to tell the tale.
And he lived to tell the tale. And he has one story, true story. I've heard it from people that I absolutely trust, where someone
Yeah.
challenged him for his dojo, and he legitimately kicked them through the front glass window of the place. So I'm like, that sounds like it's from a movie, but they're like, no, no, no. Trust me, this is the only one that happened this way, but this one time it actually happened. I'm like, ooh, that's
I bet.
awesome.
I
So
bet
Chuck Seraph is the guy's name.
if he lived fighting Chuck Norris, Chuck must have been holding a drink and trying not to spill it to let him live and walk away from their sparring.
Yeah.
Well, Lee, we've got a hot show for the community today. We've got a month in review. We're going to look back at the Bloodline, the new Bloodline event. We're going to talk Ninja Turtles. We're going to evaluate my SALT score to see where I'm at with this month. Also, we're going to make our zombie predictions, our official
Official.
zombie predictions. We've got an action packed community spotlight with the head of a wrestling federation or wrestling promotion, I guess would be the right
Indie
word.
promotion, yeah.
Indie, but it's an indie wrestling promotion. And we're going to, if we have a little time left, we're going to talk WWE TV. So,
Nice. Let's go.
Lee, let's shift gears. Lee, um, the Bloodline Takeover month, was it one of the best MLCs in recent
Hmm.
memory?
Interesting. I feel like this is a tale of two MLCs, literally. Like it feels like to me we had a 2 week Bloodline MLC and a 2 week Turtles MLC
Oh,
because it's yeah, like I understand obviously that the Bloodline MLC is still going. You know, I'm still working towards solo, etc., etc. But realistically, the focus in my brain was like 2 weeks
right.
Bloodline, and then especially once I got Jacob Fatu, it was like in my mind I went, okay, I'm done with this MLC. All right, now we're on the Turtles MLC. So I almost feel like if they would have done 1 3 week and 1 3 week instead of I don't know. I don't. You. What are your thoughts?
Well, okay. So I wasn't going to mention the Turtles yet, but you went there. So here's what I would say. Was it one of the best ever? I don't know, but it was an incredible month. Bloodline Takeover was an incredible month. I was having a great time chasing. Um, oh, I'm reading the chat. Mess me up. We're talking about the McMahon Netflix documentary. Hang on.
We
Let me
can't
get
talk
back on
about that.
track. Let
We
me get
can't talk
back on
about that.
track. We're chasing Jacob Fatu. We're
Right.
chasing, and then a week or two into it, we hear a bloodline moment. We go,
Right.
whoa, something's going to make Jacob even better. I
Right.
think, as far as thematic cohesion, this was a great month. I think even
Yeah.
the surprise announcement of Roman OTC was
Yeah.
kind of cool, kind of exciting. Maybe not for everybody, but I'm glad a top of meta Roman exists. I think that's good for the game. I think that's good for wrestling. Roman is, obviously at the top of the sport, and has been for years. Um, and yeah, then the Turtles showed up. Now, I had heard so many good things about the Rocky event
Right.
from, was it a year or two ago? I had heard
A
so
couple
many
years
good
ago.
things
Yeah.
about the Rocky event. When people said this looks just like the Rocky event, I was really, really excited because I thought I would finally get a chance to participate in something that was kind of had a storied history about how great it was. I think I was either out of the country on a cruise or I think I had COVID whenever the Rocky event. I can't remember, but I
Oh. Okay.
I got clubber and I have no recollection of the Rocky event after attaining clubber. So which very likely means I probably could have just been laying in bed for a week with a migraine and COVID and all that stuff.
Right.
Long story short, though,
You
you,
missed it.
Merrick's, the community has raved about Rocky. So with the opportunity of a Rocky like event coming
Yeah.
out, I was very excited. I thought this was going to be a crowning jewel of this month, and this potentially could be one of the best months in the history of the game. On day one of the Turtles event, that's how I felt.
Right.
We're into week two of the Turtle event, and I think this should have been its own MLC. I think it cast a shadow over an
Yeah.
already great month. I think the community has forgotten about Jacob's gear, which should have been the biggest chase of the month. I think they've
I didn't forget.
forgotten about OTC Roman, who should have been the biggest chase of the month, or the bigger, those should have been the moment. Jacob's gear, OTC Roman. We had everything we needed to spend big, to chase
Right.
hard, to grind, to make it a phenomenal month.
Right.
And yet somehow no one seems to be keen on where's Roman? How am I going to get those final solo Sokoa shards? Where the heck is the Jacob gear? They haven't mentioned it all month. Is it going to be in the
It's always the
prize
last
wall?
week.
Is it going to
Yeah.
be in the loot? Is it going to be
Yes.
right? So these are the things I'm going. How did we get from the Bloodline month is incredible to what I feel like I have now is kind of a game fatigue.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I could see that because there's even just figuring out that we went from 6 characters a month to 4 with a regular fifth surprise. Roman is basically Naomi from, I mean, not in terms of like he's super powerful, but I mean, in terms of, there was no shards initially, that blah, blah, blah. You got to be super lucky to pull him. Roman is the Naomi of a couple months ago. But yeah, instead of even the normal 4, instead of the previous 6, we had 9 characters this month alone. And from one side of it, though, I mean, I'm ending up with Tongaloa, Tamatanga, Jacob Fatu,
Yeah.
possibly Solo. I'm pretty close to him, so that'd be 4
Can
plus
I
Donatello plus Michelangelo. So I'll end up with 6 characters out of the 9. So that's a big
nine
month.
Lee, let's pump the brakes, my friend. 9 new superstars in 1 month.
Well, 10
That's
because I didn't
two,
mention OTC, right? Or wait, hold on.
that's 2 months worth of superstars.
No, 9. Yeah. That is 2
It's
months worth of superstars.
it's two MLCs that were smashed together in a trash compactor, so to speak, right? You ever watch those? I love watching those hydraulic press videos. You ever watch those, Lee?
Yeah.
Those viral videos.
Where they
So like the
crush things
hydraulic
and
press comes down, and it's like, what's going to happen? Is it going to explode? Is it going to smash? Is it going to break? So that's what I feel like happened to this MLC. Is we had a great concept, a great theme, 4, nay 5 great characters of the bloodline in OTC released, and
yeah.
yet the hydraulic press began to come down, called the Ninja Turtles, and it smashed my enjoyment of the game. Now I'm still really big. Take the Turtles event out,
Right.
I would love this month. I would have said this month was a A. I
Yeah.
graded an A, right? I would have graded an A. I don't know why. Now I'm thinking this month is more of like a C. Why
Ooh.
would I? Why would
Wow.
I? Why would I lower the grade when they gave us more? When they gave us
Well,
good things? Help me
yeah.
process my own confusion, Lee.
Well, I mean that makes sense. Like, okay, so a couple things in the chat here, real quick. Yuda says, "I, as a non-spender, got Tama, Kofi, and Xavier, and I'm very happy about that." So, I
Awesome,
mean, for
awesome.
free to play, you got. I mean, it's kind of like when Clubber came out. Clubber was for a window of time that was beyond what we thought he would be. He was one of the better characters that you could
Yeah,
use. Great for taking
yeah.
up. But yeah, I mean, I think there's that old saying, "Too much of a good thing." I think when they debuted Roman, right? And then when they debuted the Moment, it was like this is enough to keep us going for this MLC, and then we got
Right.
zombies, and then to throw in a whole new. I mean, literally, it just feels like we got two MLCs in one, which on the one hand is amazing, but on the other hand, like you've mentioned, that means that now we've got split focus, right? Okay, well, wait a second. What do I do to get Jacob over here, and then what do I do to get the turtles over here? Plus, and again, people's memories are off, but it was close to like this, maybe a little bit less spend heavy, but it was close to like this when they did the Rocky event as well. Like you and I both mentioned on the WCW, the week-long contest walkthrough that we did for the pizza event, said if your faction maxes, which assumably in my mind I was thinking, top 30, top 50 should all max it, right? Then you'll get enough to get Raphael and one plate. And we're number 4 or 5 right now on the rankings, and we are nowhere close to maxing, like multiple milestones off. So
Right.
I think some of that ire has moved over. It doesn't help that Raphael by himself is a pretty not great fighter, although the coaching aspect of it is really good. And so now we're chasing like, oh gosh, do I spend my money to try to get OTC, who's legitimately a roster changer, or do I spend my money over here to try and get Raphael, who is an amazing coach, and then you've got
Right.
Seth, who's the ultra chase and super rare, and then you've got, so I mean, there is a lot going on, but I will say, we didn't even mention, like, in terms of if you just look at what did I get this month, I will end up with a 6-star gold Rosie. I'll end up with a 6-star gold Kofi. Woods. Sorry, Donatello. I will end up with
From Fuse,
Michelangelo,
Prize Wall
Tamatonga.
Fuse,
What's that?
Donatello from a Prize Wall Fuse, or how you getting him?
Yeah. I have enough or almost have enough to get him. I spent. Oh, and by the way, that prize wall freaking amazing with the 4,000 turtle lids for 1,000 TP of every color. I honestly feel like they did that because I keep saying in every one of our things with them, I'm out of TP, guys. I literally have 0 TP in 2 to 3 colors. So I've been, if I wouldn't have done that, I could have already taken the 6-star gold Donatello. But I got so much TP. Plus, I've got the Bloodline moment. Plus, I am saving back to do a few pulls on Jacob gear this weekend. And I almost short circuited that for the shell shocked loot because I was like, I don't have so many of these old mutants.
Oh,
So
I
instead
know.
of doing a mega, I ended up just spending to do a 5 pull or whatever the middle one is, the $30 one. So I spent $30 last night, got absolute garbage, and it was like, okay, I can walk away. I don't need the shell
So,
shocked loot.
so you okay? You brought up one of my talking points from my show notes. The shell shock loot has the best curb appeal, right? If you look at what you get, you're getting 2, or no, I think it's 4 guaranteed 6-star silvers if you do a mega there. And yet the shell shock loot has no Cowabunga contest points and no pizza. So the ooze loot, okay, so that's I'm gonna check that off. The ooze loot kind of stinks.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's worth chasing, and yet you feel like you're gonna let your faction down if you don't buy it. At least
Right.
in the higher levels, right? The
Oh
guys
yeah.
that are
That was smart.
usually their factions max events that are in the top, let's say top 20, right? Those guys are kind of used to competitive play. This feels like I don't want to buy it, but I don't want to let my crew down. But we're all kind of feeling the same, like none of us wants to buy it, and yet somehow we're still in the top 5 of
Right.
this event, and yet I'm not having fun. Normally, when I'm in the top 5 in an event, I'm having a lot of fun.
Right.
I'm not having any fun with this pizza stuff.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I mean, it's certainly like I don't expect we're gonna hit at least one more milestone on there, but still not maxing it. I don't expect unless I just get amazing RNG that I will get Raphael at all. And now I'm sitting here going, okay, so I don't have Muda, but I've seen both Merrick's and Brofessor's done videos on Muda plus one of the plates. I've seen Merrick's has done one with Maxine plus one of the plates. I've seen, Sir Zorro just put one out on Chief of Beast Roman with one of the plates. And I'm like, not only can I, I'm like, I could choose one plate right now is basically where I'm at. And if I get lucky, I would choose either Raphael or a plate. And I've got to assume that, like the Rocky event, you don't get another, like there was no other chance to get Apollo Creed, and he was
Yeah.
a hugely important trainer and coach, right? Like the bleed damage that he
Right.
does. I mean, hugely important. And so I'm sitting here assuming that the plates will come back because, especially, thank goodness they did not brand them with TMNT like they did the Ghostbusters plates. So they don't have to worry about losing the rights to TMNT to keep doing those plates. But at some point, they're going to lose the rights to TMNT like they did with He-Man, like they did with Rocky, like they did with Ghostbusters. And at some point, that means that these turtles aren't going to be available again. So I'm making
Right.
a choice between something that would actually make a huge impact now versus, yes, he's an amazing coach. Like, he will help a number of my people. But so it's I feel like if there had been a way where everybody who is in a faction, let's say top 20, top 30, every to the top 30 factions would max that pizza event, everybody from those factions would have a chance to at least get Raphael and one plate. I think it would feel really good. But getting like barely one plate, and when we're number 5 in the entire community right now, that feels off.
Yeah, it feels off because I have 386 pizza slices.
Yeah,
That's my that's how the RNG broke down for
right.
me. Raphael is really hard to obtain. Um, I think he kind of stinks as a fighter, and he seems very, very expensive for a power gym coach when the other turtles have power gym entourage abilities as well.
Right.
Um, I just don't understand what they were thinking with this
Yeah.
event.
Well,
To me,
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please. Let's hear it.
No, no. To Sensei Kreese's point, he said it seems like a lot more players got Leonardo Seth than got Tech Rocky, so that's at least a plus in the column, which I absolutely agree with because like I know very few people who have Tech Rocky, Tech Rocky 4 or whatever. I mean, he was one of those like maybe 1% of the community got him kind of characters, and Seth is more available, but still, we're talking a battle won by inches, not by miles.
Yeah. Well, I think you even said it. Too much crammed into the game at once. Too much of a good thing. Too much candy gives you a stomach ache, right? I mean, I think we don't need to keep maybe hitting that point over and over. But I will
Yeah.
say this: it was a great month, and now I kind of have a salty taste about the end of it. Um, there were no midweek medallions.
This
Uh,
week. Right.
yeah, because of the Ninja Turtle contest. There were no solo Sokoa shards from the Rosie Showdown that would have been this week. Um, so yeah, I feel like in some sense I missed out or lost some things. And I'm not sure if the gain is really worth it. I don't know if I'll use Donatello after this event unless there's a requirement.
Yeah,
I
he's good. I
don't
like
know.
him probably the best out of all the fighters on there, assuming I won't get Seth.
Right, I don't know how Michelangelo is going to fare right on the long term, and yet it would have been great. This would have been a great month if they just would have held off the turtles, or maybe here's my what I would have loved to have seen, Lee, is if they would have released this or done this event earlier this summer, whenever the toys were in stores. You cannot walk
Yeah.
into a Target and buy these
Right.
toys anymore. They are gone. Also,
Interesting.
whenever the New Day was wearing their Ninja Turtles outfits in
Right.
ring, that would have been the time to release this. It should have been a very, very exciting event. I think they over paywalled the milestones. If that's a I don't know that that's the right way to say it, but the bar was too high. The bar was set too high to get stuff. Lee, can you help us with some solutions here, though? What if we have just enough pizza to get one thing off the prize wall, and let's say
Oof, that'll be me.
250 pizza? We can either get one plate, we can get the moment.
Hmm.
Let's say the average person in the community has Donatello at 3 star. They have Michelangelo maybe at 5 star, maybe six bronze. What are we looking at with 250 pizza? What's the
Wow.
play?
Well, here's my logic on it. The moment is unlockable with two turtles. So if you get Donatello and Michelangelo, you can use the moment. However, you need shards. Now, I can confirm that I have asked, will there be shards later? And the answer was a very nebulous, we think so. There should be, right? So, like, okay, awesome. So, theoretically, the turtles will have another event or they'll just be in loot or something down the road. As some have pointed out on the moment, there's the four turtles and then there's two shadows off to the side. So what if we get a another event that has Roman, Shredder, and Casey Jones, Cody Rhodes? Like
Oh,
that would be huge. And then if they're in that moment, but then theoretically that means they'll offer the moment again. So for me, the moment is a maybe. If
right.
I can only get one thing, which is likely. I'm at 300 and something pizza
Yeah.
slices. So right now I could only get one plate. My play, even though I don't have Muda, is to get the break green make purple plate because I know that I'm going after Muda at some point, and as soon as I get him, he is YOLO to the moon, and that plate is insane on him. Alternately, I do have Maxine, but don't have her gear. Merrick's did a video where the break blue get green, I think, or the vice versa of it. I think like break blue get green does is as good as a Piper plate on her. So I could move my Piper plate off of her and put it onto somebody else. I've got a couple of them now. So for me, I would look at your roster and I would say two questions. One, am I going to use the turtles long term? Like realistically, think about a year from now, are you still going to be using them as fighters, not just as entourage? If so, maybe the moment is the right play for you. If you got Seth, that moment very much might be the right play for you. If you just got Donatello, and Michelangelo like me, it's a question mark. So that'd be my first question. My second question would be, is there a plate that makes one of my favorite characters amazingly better, right? Like a Muda, like a Maxine, like a Chief of Beasts Roman that Sir Zorro did a video on, like et cetera, et cetera. Is there one of those plates that will just take someone from, oh, they're good, but I wish they were, to, oh my gosh, look how amazing these are. So that's what I would say. And ThunderQ in the chat saying which plate did I say? Check out Merrick's video for those. But if are you asking about Maxine or Muda? The Muda plate is easy. It's the break green get purple because his purple gems are buffed insanely, and that is just like what 1,000% buff or something like that on purple gems he gets. The Maxine one is either break blue get green or break green get blue, whichever. I'm not sure. Whichever color she buffs. I haven't. Unfortunately, there wasn't a women's event this month, so I haven't played with Maxine all month.
Um, so the plate, yeah. So your pick was the purple green. My pick would be the what
Green,
was the fearless leader plate. It's the
break
blue
green get
green
purple.
plate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fearless leader.
So
That's the one for Maxine.
yeah, and that's
Okay.
also the one that would help Tech Charlotte. It's the
Oh,
one that would help CM Punk. It's the one that
that's
would
right.
help Powerhouse Cody with
Okay.
his. You could move from a tricolor to a dual color and
Oh,
just green
nice.
blue. Um, that's the one to me that has the most upside for the people that are currently at 6 gold on my roster, right?
Okay.
So I can make my bet 3 or 4 of my best people better if I
Okay.
got that plate and
I
moved it
like it.
around. So that was for me. It was process of elimination. I don't want to pick a plate based on potential. or what I might get in the future or what they might develop in the future. Um, Only because that's never gone well for me. That's never gone well for me.
Right.
Any time I've tried to select things aspirationally from the prize wall.
Yeah,
um,
it's
I Here's a great case in point, Lee. I took the um, what's the blue plate? The blue. It was on the zombie grab wall last October. The blue. Um,
Oh, you're
you
talking
see,
about the Heartstopper.
yeah, I took the Heartstopper. I never
Right.
got D'Lo until I was about a
Recently.
year later. I got
Right.
D'Lo. I had nobody to put that plate on. I ended up running it on maybe Grayson Waller just for a
Right.
little extra blue. Um, I don't know what I was thinking. I missed out on the last ride plate. I missed
Yeah.
out on Zombie Becky.
Ooh, she's
I don't
amazing.
know. I don't know why I picked that plate because I
Right.
saw potential in that plate and what it could do. So it
Right.
was a bad pick. It was a really bad pick for me.
Mm.
So Fearless Leader would be my choice off the. If I could only get one thing, I think I would take that instead of the moment. But I'm hoping somehow we can get more pizza.
Me
The
too.
pizza's not in the flash market, which
Nope.
was a bummer. The pizza is only in the ooze loot. Mm. Mm.
So here's one more thing on this topic, and then we can move into zombies if we want to or whatever. But think about this. We were just talking about how much this MLC feels overwhelmed, overstuffed would be the better way to put it. When you were talking about plates, I had the immediate realization of all realizations is that, guys, there was a freaking Piper's plate accessible to almost anybody if they max, right? Anybody who maxes this MLC got a Piper's plate or could choose one. That should have been something we went, that was the best thing they've ever done. That was like the Piper's plate changes the fortune of 25 different characters in the game instantly and makes them all top tier. And we didn't even think about the fact that it was there because of how stuffed this is. That's, I mean, embarrassment of riches. But like, if you only got a Piper's plate this month, you won the month. Period. Like that should have been the best MLC we've had in a long time, just because of that Piper's plate. And I totally forgot it even existed until you started talking about the plates.
That's true. I'm going to try a little different vocal effect and see if this matters at all. Let me know in the chat if anything changes.
Okay.
Somebody asked, why is Rusty calling from a phone booth? So I was
Yeah,
like,
that's why
oh
I
no.
said you sound hazy or distant. We talked about that before we went live. So yeah, try a different
Oh,
filter.
I wonder if somehow if my mic is not plugged up because that's what it sounds like when oh, it says I was talking about the small room that you're in, Rusty. Um yeah, okay. So it's not the audio. That's good.
Yeah.
Lee, you want to switch gears and do our
Sure.
zombie predictions?
Sure.
Now, I swear to Pete, if they release another Ninja Turtle event mid zombie month, I'm gonna freak out. I'm gonna
Unless
freak
there's zombie turtles.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so why don't we start with? We've done these in the past, and we've started with like who we think the freebie is going to be.
Right.
Um, Lee, who do you think the freebie is going to be this month?
Well, this one I did say last. I picked two last week on the pod with Iron Sheik, and I said I think it will be Carrying Cross. Carrying Cross, the Final Testament, gimmick really plays well with a zombie goth aesthetic. So, what if this year? Okay, we'll talk about this afterwards. But so not only who are we going to get zombies, but what's the theme going to be, right? Because there's been a beach theme, there was a western theme. I think this year it's going to be goth zombies. Goth zombies. That's going to be my theme.
Interesting. Okay. Um, McMenemy says we're expecting zombies, but what if it's the Wyatt Six? Lee, would the community be happy, elated, or disappointed if it was um, Wyatt Six instead of zombies?
So I've made this argument before, I think on the Friday stream, but It could be. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Zombies is one of their, again, from the outside looking in, I don't have inside info on this. Zombies is one of their most profitable events every year. And two, if they do that, like it'd be great. I would love to have the Wyatt Six in the game as soon as possible. But then you kind of put the community at odds, right? So those who are like, thank goodness we didn't get zombies, which is going to be a very small group, are going to be like, yay, the Wyatt Six, I'm happy with this. But the majority of the community is going to go, okay, you're making me choose the Wyatt Six over zombies or instead of zombies. And therefore, like me personally, I would hold a grudge against those Wyatt Six characters in the game because they took away Zombie
Uh,
Month, which is my favorite month every year
okay.
in this game. So I don't think they would do that. Even if they do, however, there's going to be zombie related milestones. There's going to be old zombies in loot. There's going to be, so one way or another, it's going to be a zombie month. But the only way, hold on one second, Steve. Excuse me. The only way that I would say this would work, and there's sneeze number two, is if it's Wyatt Six zombies. But even then, you go, okay, well, now we want the real versions of them because we got Wyatt Six zombies.
Yeah.
What about the rest? So
I would think
I
it'd be
personally don't think it will
Bray.
be Wyatt Six.
Yeah, I would think Bray himself would be the only appeasement of that, and yet, we've gone back and forth. Is that in bad taste? Is it in bad taste to quote bring someone back from the dead who's died, suddenly and tragically, and then put him? I was just reading about Sasha Banks made her game debut as a zombie. So I think the
Yeah, that'd be
freebie.
fine.
You know who I think does that? You mentioned him earlier in the show. What WWE legend has no zombie? And I think it's Sheamus. Zombie
Oh,
Sheamus, who
oh,
does not
interesting.
have too many years probably left in his wrestling career. Doesn't have many mountains to climb. I think he's one that makes a ton of sense.
Oh yeah.
Um, he's been a staple in the main event scene for probably 20 years now. I don't know what class I would make Sheamus. Um, maybe a tech. Is there a tech Sheamus already in the game? I could see
No,
it being technician
I don't think so.
Seamus and kind of playing into the Irish, um, theme,
Like
like
the
a Shamrock,
Sluach.
yeah, or something like that, right? Who's
Yeah.
your next zombie prediction?
Well, I want to build off yours just real quick because in my mind, like, okay, last year we got a lot of credit because again we had no clue, we weren't even official creators yet during Zombie Month last year, and I picked the Tusos before it was even a thing. I said, but I thought it was going to be one face here and then they flip around one face there. I would say if they do the zombie Sheamus, he needs to be the most white pale zombie in the like beyond like just
Oh my
like
god!
white out color on his skin with the
Oh,
flaming red hair, maybe even the hair's like actual fire that's like rising up. That would be so cool. I would love that. Oh, okay.
wild.
So the chat said there would be, if we're talking about Hall of Famers that are still living, obviously, because that's one of the requirements, ironically, to make it as a zombie. Bret Hart doesn't have a zombie. Zombie Bret Hart might be a good path. So I'm going to co-opt that one because, and I'm sorry, I don't mean this rudely. There's still not a good Bret Hart fighter in the game. Like new Tech Bret Hart had a moment, and he's still very okay. Hall of Fame Bret is still very okay. Striker Bret, the new one, is one of the best coaches in the game, but as a fighter, still very okay. Like it's like AJ Styles, even arguably Hulk Hogan in the game. Some of these characters that are on people's like Mount Rushmores, so to speak, you're not going to use Striker Brett compared to if you've got OTC Roman, if you got Muscle Man Bray, but even if you have Acolyte Farouk, or I'm sorry, a Bradshaw, right? Like the Striker Bradshaw that they basically gave away in some oopsie bags, he's just not. Bret Hart isn't well represented in this game, which I know he's Iron Sheik's favorite guy of all time. I do not like Bret Hart as a wrestler. He's a curmudgeon as a person when I see him in podcast interviews and stuff. I don't care for Bret Hart. but I think his legend deserves a top tier character.
Mm.
What else you got? What's your next prediction?
I've got a few. I'm going to go with who I think is the most likely to get a zombie.
Okay.
Is Bailey. Another
Oh,
another person I can't believe isn't already a zombie, right? How are there so many other females like Paige and Charlotte and Becky and Sasha, everyone from that era of
right,
the women's division has a zombie, but not Bailey.
right,
We also don't have a great Bailey in the game. We have lots of Baileys and no meta relevant Bailey.
right,
And I like the old Showboat Bailey. We have to use her for Bailey requirements,
right.
but it can be a challenge. So I think we gotta get Bailey in the zombie rotation. I think that makes so much sense. I think probably a trickster. There's no trickster Bailey, right? So I think trickster makes a lot of sense for that as well.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I would like that. Somebody in the chat put instead of I'm a hugger, her thing could be I'm a biter. I'm like, that's got some
Ew.
connotations, but okay. Um, well, if we're going with ladies, my is this weird to say? Hope is Nia Jax. Again, I don't like Nia Jax as a character, but two reasons. One, they keep requiring Nia Jax, and
Right.
powerhouse Nia Jax can barely fight her way out of a wet paper bag, let alone win a match. And I've got her. Ugh, I hate to say it. I had to take her 6-star bronze. Like, I've even thought about taking her 6-star silver just because of how often they require her. So if there's an all Naya, requirement and zombie Naya would count, I'd be go for that. But also for two, and I know this is gonna sound weird, but they used the zombies, or they often use the zombies to put in classes that don't necessarily make sense to the characters, like Acrobat Hulk Hogan or Powerhouse Rey Mysterio. What about Acrobat Nia Jax? That would be, I would love that.
Oh my gosh. I see. I think that makes a lot of sense, Lee. I could see how that would be coming down the line. I just don't know if they want to make. Um, I just don't know if they want to make any eating type jokes about Naya. And zombies
Oh,
have
right.
the insatiable hunger. They kind of always want. Anyway,
Yeah,
I don't.
we don't want to body shame
Don't want
via
to be a body
zombie.
shamer.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's a little red tape to think about. You know who else makes a lot of sense that
Who's
there would
that?
be? And I've kind of picked all modern era, but I think
Okay.
another one that would be a really cool zombie, someone who's been a staple on WWE TV for as long as I can remember, is Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman,
Oh, that would be
monster of
cool.
all monsters. Zombie
Okay.
Braun. I could see Zombie Braun being someone that would be. Again, we had Monster Bomb Braun. Community
Right.
loved him. He was
Yeah.
one of the best and most sought after characters
Very
there for a
good.
while in the game. And Zombie Braun would be really really cool.
Yeah.
I think, and if not Braun Strowman, perhaps as he continues to rise in prominence, I would say my substitute Braun would be Braun Breaker. I'd rather see Braun
Oh.
Strowman. Braun Breaker would make sense, but he's not my prediction. He's not my. I just wonder if he would be more popular. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope
No,
that
I
didn't take one away from you.
you didn't. In fact, you built a perfect segue in. So my next pick was going to be Bronson Reed. And I would love if, again, we talked about the zombie themes. What if the zombie theme for this year was like kaiju or whatever? And you had, because they've already been doing these promos where like Bronson comes out of the water like Godzilla, and then Braun Strowman comes across smashing buildings like King Kong. What if they had Strowman and Braun's son Reed, and it was Godzilla versus Kong style? Like
Oh,
that would be super cool. I would love that.
Lee, what if they did some sort of monster theme here? Um,
Yeah.
and what if our guy Braun Breaker was like a werewolf zombie?
Oh, I like that. Oh,
Because he's the dog, right? So, what do you got?
Jacob Fatu, like I know we just had him, but Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf. What if they did a werewolf zombie of Jacob
Yeah,
Fatu? That would be super cool.
yeah, that would be a meteoric rise to prominence in this game, like unprecedented. They did. Okay, I've got a silly one, and I
Okay.
don't know if I'll do it. I actually have five predictions, but only one woman. My next modern era superstar, who I think they will zombify,
Uh-huh.
and this would really be controversial, but I think it's going to be main event Jay Uso. Eat, right? Instead of yeet,
Instead of
eat,
yeet.
eat, 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 eat.
That's awesome.
I I I think they it just makes so much sense
That's
that Jay
awesome.
Uso would be the standalone Jay that we thought was going to be coming out for months and months and months and months,
Right.
and yet didn't. I don't know. I could see it. I could really see it. I've got one
Uh,
last one, but I want to hear yours. And the last one is a legend.
Okay. Well, my last one. So I didn't say it, but I've been in my mind. I've been going. The free tier was Carrying Cross, and then I moved into the A tier, S tier. So I'm up to the S plus tier. So Braun's son was my S tier. My S plus tier would be Zombie CM Punk. I think that we all have said as soon as they put CM Punk in this game, they're going to have 7 versions of him in the game instantly, and they have had remarkable like well, they've been holding back, like they've been holding themselves back really well. But I think it's time to get another CM Punk in the game. Tech CM Punk is still great, but other techs have started to push him down the
Ooh.
roster. So I would say Striker, CM Punk, Zombie, the bite there ever, or let's see, bite in the world. No, that's not right. The best in the world.
The
Yeah, I'll come up
best
with something
fight
else.
in the world.
Yeah, yeah. So Zombie CM Punk, it would be my S plus tier. That's my vote for there. And if we're going with monster, like Frankenstein type monster kind of things, I would make him maybe the Mummy, like not the wrapped up one, but like the mummy, the Brendan Fraser version of the Mummy, where he was like this weird disjointed
Oh
jaw
yeah,
monster. And
yeah.
a quick bonus one, if we're going with monsters, which by the way, I didn't think of this before, so it's just off the cuff. I know we've got Invisible Cena, but if we're going with Universal Monsters, why not put another Invisible Cena in the game?
Oh wow, the Invisible Man.
Yeah.
Sensei Kreese says the best in the underworld. That's a pretty
Oh,
cool.
see, look at that.
Yeah,
Chat comes through. That is a great one,
that's
Sensei.
that's slick.
Bunder said it too.
Somebody wanted to combine concepts here and have Hall of Fame Zombie Kane. So that's that.
We've already
Okay,
got a
so
zombie cane.
here's my Legends pick. My out of the blue. Why did they do this? But he's so OP. Can you believe it? And it would be Zombie Randy Savage. We have
Ooh, they
had
won't.
a Randy Savage in every iteration, every era. And
Right.
he's back in the game. He's off the DNU list. And his Hall of Fame poster has been one of the most claimed UCC grabs.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Do you think it's because he's actually passed away.
Yeah, they don't. As far as we've seen, they don't do zombies of actually past characters. That's why I said it was ironic that in order to be a zombie in the game, you have to be living in real life. But I mean, they're not going to do a zombie Bray Wyatt. They're not going to do zombie Randy Savage. Like, yeah, I mean, they would be cool. Don't get me wrong, it'd be fun.
Well,
But
okay, I
no.
rescind that prediction. Maybe that was just my heart wanting what it wanted. And I'm going to call back last year's prediction:
Okay.
Zombie Paul Heyman.
Oh, there you go.
Zombie Paul Heyman. The one that I want is going to have some OP entourage ability or some, I mean, heck, make him a IOW stipulation. I don't know. Put Paul Heyman in the game.
There
Zombies would
you
be a
go.
great way to bring him out. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, one that the chat called out last week and this week that I wouldn't have thought of, so I didn't include it in my predictions because it would have been unfair to co opt. LA Fright was the one that the chat
Oh,
has been calling out. LA Fright, which again, like CM Punk, they've been remarkably reserved in, going down the 6 versions of LA Knight in the game. I think it's time. I think it'd be time. CM Punk and
is
LA
LA Knight
Knight both
still over?
deserve new ones.
Would the community care about an LA Knight? Is it too
He's
little,
the
too late?
U.S. champion.
Is he the champion in your heart?
I think that WWE missed the window on taking him to the moon, but anyways. Well, we are 50 minutes in on here, so we're going to transition to a community spotlight and then talk about some WWE TV. So I got to sit down. When some of you guys know from our streams that back in 2003, I trained with an indie federation in Rockwall, Texas, a suburb of Dallas, the Christian Wrestling Federation. Missed getting to see AJ Styles. He was part of it before and after I was there. Missed the Legion of Doom. The only person I actually got to meet that had a name at the time was Lash LaRue of WCW's Misfits in Action. But I sit down with the founder of the CWF, Rob Vaughn, who is retiring, and we talk about what is it like to create an indie wrestling federation. We talk a little bit about the business, and he shares some pretty heartwarming stories about AJ Styles from his personal friendship with him. So we're going to transition to that. Those of you who are here watching on Twitch with us, it'll be a momentary pause. You'll have to go back and watch it on YouTube. For those on YouTube, let's check this out. What's up, WWE Champions Universe? It's Lee from Champions Chat, and we've got a very special guest, someone that I got to spend a season of life with down in Rockwall, Texas. This is Rob Vaughn, Jesus Freak Rob Vaughn, and
Right.
you are the founder of an indie federation called the Christian Wrestling Federation. You want to tell me a little bit about how that came about, and we'll start sharing some stories, and I'll ask you some questions.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on today. Well, let me tell you, I never, in my wildest dreams, ever thought that a Christian wrestling federation ministry would ever come about. Um, so I got into pro wrestling. I had a football background. I got into pro wrestling in January of 1999. A guy that I
Wow.
had gone to school with, he had wrestled with the Von Erichs before, the tragedies took place. Anyways, he was running a wrestling school in the area, and I ran into him at the mall of all places. It was over Christmas, and he said, "Man, I can't believe how big you are." He goes, "Hey, why don't you come out and let me train you to be a wrestler?" I watched wrestling growing up. I liked it, but I wasn't like just over the top into it. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
I said, "Man, I'm 28 years old. If I don't do this now, I'll never do it." So I went ahead and went to the wrestling school, trained with him for several months. And then he was doing indie shows around Dallas area and out in East Texas. And so, anyways, I was wrestling on those. But man, Lee, to be honest with you, I just didn't like what I was seeing. Man, you'd
Yeah.
go to shows and you got 8, 10-year-old kids flipping you the bird and cussing at you, and some of the stuff that was going on in the locker room was not what I was used to. And so, anyways, um, it was about August of that year. I was in San Antonio visiting some friends. They run a big music ministry down there, and we were talking about that. Then the husband, Ron, says, "Hey, man, tell me about wrestling, man. How's that going? You haven't mentioned much about it." And I said, "I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to give it up when I get back." I gave him all those reasons I just told you. And he said, man, he was sitting there thinking for a second. He goes, man, what if you can make a ministry out of pro wrestling? And I was like, I remember laughing at him. I was like, are you kidding me? I said, you would believe the people I have to be around and what I see and stuff. He goes, exactly. Who did Jesus hang out with? Who, he wasn't hanging out with all the rich people and stuff. He was hanging out with tax collectors and prostitutes. Those are the people that he was ministering to. Those are people that need the gospel. So I was driving back to Rockwall and from that trip in San Antonio, and man, it would not leave my mind. And so I prayed about it and prayed for about 3 weeks. And I just finally threw my hands up and said, Lord, if this is what you want, I have no idea what it's going to look like, but I am a willing vessel. You show me. And boy, did he ever. He kept putting people in my path, and and they just kept coming, and so next thing I know, everything started clicking, and I started finding guys. Bought a ring, and then the funny thing is, I sent out 3,000 bulk mail outs to churches in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and they started calling, and they were wanting to know, what's this Christian wrestling all about? I'm interested. We want to book you guys, and I was like, I haven't done a show. I didn't even have wrestlers yet, and that's kind of how it all started. So I found some guys, started going to shows, finding people. So, oh, this dude's a Christian wrestler over here. And I went to Mary Hardin Baylor University and found some guys down there, and we started training them. And they were kind of my core guys in the beginning. So, anyways, May 10th, 2000, we did our very first CWF event in Mesquite, Texas, at a church called Family Cathedral of Praise. And that first night, we had over 700 kids show up that night, and 30 of them got saved around the ring. And I was like, whoa, we may be on something here. And then that first just exploded. I mean, a month later, I had my picture in an article in People magazine. I was on TV, national TV shows, doing interviews. What's this Christian wrestling all about? And I did about 40 radio interviews that first summer. And so I just couldn't believe we did 55 shows and traveled to every one of them. We didn't have a home base back then where we did shows at, so we traveled to every show. Anyways, so I did that that whole first year. So that's kind of how it started. So it kind of started with a bang.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember that. Well, at least the original ring. I'm assuming you got rid of it at one point, but it was a boxing ring, and it was like steel crossbeams, so there was no give to that
Brutal.
thing at all.
Brutal.
Yeah, people used to ask what.
I ended up buying a ring from a guy out in East Texas, and came in, set it up, and my grandfather came over because he was he had been a welder for years, and he came over and looked at it. He was like, this thing's a piece of crap. He goes, I can build you a brand new ring better than this. And he did. He built us a brand spanking new ring, and we still use that. The CWF still uses that ring as their main ring today. I mean, he did an awesome job.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about how it, like, what did it look like to start? You kind of mentioned the origin story, but what would it look like to start an indie federation? What were some of the struggles? What were some of the high points? Kind of not just breaking into the wrestling industry, but like leading a branch of the wrestling industry.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it was kind of fun because I was 29 years old when it started, and you're just flying by the seat of your pants. We're just taking bookings wherever we can. We were trying to send out. The internet was relatively new back then, and so getting information out was not near as easy as it is today with social media. And so it was word of mouth. It was sending an email to churches, and I just did the old fashioned, picked up the phone and called, and people I've met in the ministry, I was like, hey, do y'all have any friends that are youth ministers or pastors that you might recommend that may want to come to their church? And I tell you, the thing that really took us national though was I started going to these youth conferences, and there was this one company, and I don't think they do it anymore, but they used to have every year they would do a youth conference. They would do one somewhere on the West Coast, somewhere in the Midwest, and somewhere on the East Coast. Well, we always tried to do the Midwest, but one year I did all three. I went from coast to coast and did all three conferences. Set up a booth, had a video running there of kind of stuff we did, and that's when it really took off. that's when we started getting shows, from California to New York to Florida, all over the country. Was when I went to set up a booth at those youth conferences. But so that's kind of how we started. And like I said, we just had a van, a truck, and a trailer with everything in it. We jump in it. We would just roll, drive a day's drive to New York, or and go down and do some shows in Florida, and come back, pick up a new crew, and then head out to where'd we go? Arizona. So it was fun. You just really wasn't thinking at the time, like, logistically, this don't make a lot of sense. But my gosh, Lee, people kept getting saved at all these shows. That's all we knew is, man,
That's
we are
awesome.
sharing the gospel, we are sharing our testimony, and we are seeing lives changed for the kingdom. And so that was really, I didn't have a big business plan. I didn't have a big plan of, hey, let's do this the first year. We were just going and setting up and preaching and wrestling.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And in terms of like the wrestlers themselves, how did you find, you said you just kind of asked some people, like, how did you find people that could work? How did they get trained up? What did that look like?
As we grew, people started finding us. You started finding the guys who were believers out there who were in pro wrestling. They started finding us. And I never will forget getting a phone call at the end of 2001, and I got a phone call from this young man, and he says, "Hey, I work with a youth group outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and I see where y'all are coming to do a show at a convention." And he said, I used to, I'm a wrestler, and I wrestled for WCW, and I, want to see if I could get on the show and meet you guys and everything. And I was like, man, sure, and so back then it was hard to find video footage and stuff like this. And he said, yeah, I was a part of a tag team called Air Paris. And man, you know how hard it was to find Air Paris back in, 2001. But
Right.
then so it did not work out. There was a cold snap, and we could not make that conference in Atlanta. So I had to wait a few months, and then we met him in Kentucky, and he came down to do his first show with us. And he walks in, and after he does this show, and he's amazing. And after the show's over, I was like, golly, man, is there anywhere you can travel with us? And he had an awesome testimony, and so everything we did for the next year and a half through the South. We met him along the way, and he wrestled with us. He just happened to turn out to be a guy named AJ Styles, and and I never will forget the phone call he gave me one day back in '03, and he says, "Hey Rob," he goes, "I may not be able to do as much stuff with y'all right now." I said, "How come?" He says, "Well, the Jets called me, and they're starting this new federation called TNA, Total Nonstop Action. They're going to run it every Wednesday night at the Nashville Coliseum, and they're doing this X Division thing for smaller wrestlers, and they kind of want to make me one of their main guys." And I was like, dude,
Wow.
go for it, man. This is a chance. And then, of course, the old saying, the rest is history.
Right. Right. That's awesome. Well, I remember, since we're talking about AJ Styles, I remember the trainer when I was there, he would show us videos of like, hey, you want to be really good? Do things like this. And I was like, how in the world does anybody do, like, flip off the top rope and land while you're also grabbing someone's head and pile driving them at the same time? And it was like, what in the world? But you told a story one time to me about AJ Styles calling you up, and he was going to wrestle one of, I think, all of our heroes, the man called Sting. You want to tell that story real quick?
Oh my gosh. You're gonna have to refresh me on that one, because I've gone a little, I've got a couple things since my heart attack, but yeah, I mean, that was, how would you feel like wrestling your icon?
Right.
I mean, the guy you grew up watching, and then you go to wrestle him, and then he comes to know Jesus and become a believer, and then here you are, talking to him and being able to talk about Christ and discipleship and stuff. So with your icon, I, I can't imagine.
That's awesome. Well, you mentioned your heart attack. So you had kind of a life altering moment a few years ago. Tell us about that.
Yes, man, I've always worked out. I've been an athlete my whole life, but and there was a point where I really tried to get big. I really tried to get as big as I could. Well, at one point it got out of hand. I got up to 320 pounds, I was miserable, and I lost all the weight. I got back down to about 200, and so I've been, you know, I thought everything was great. I've been healthy. Everything was fine. I kept the weight off, and then on June 12th of 2021, I'd wrestled a match at our place here in Rockwall. A lot of the wrestlers had gone to eat afterwards, and I had my son with me, and my youngest son. So I took him and dropped him off at a friend's house in town. And right as I dropped him off, I'm pulling out of the neighborhood. Man, I just start sweating profusely. I start getting short of breath. I really feel something's wrong, but I've never had this feeling before. So I called my wife Beth, and I said, "Man, something's going on. I don't feel so hot." So she said, "Just stay on the phone with me." So it was about a 10-minute drive to my house, and got home. She goes, "Yeah, you don't look so good." And I said, "Man, I just want to take a shower and go to bed." So we had just moved 1 month earlier. We
Oh,
sold our
wow.
big house where all the kids had been raised, and we only had one left at home. And so, but our daughter had just graduated from high school, and she was home. She was still home because she wasn't leaving for college for another couple months. And so I go in the bed, this little bitty tiny rent house that we're staying in. I go in our bedroom and go to the bathroom, and I flip the little shower nozzle on, and then as soon as I step out of the shower, I fall back against the door. And then next thing I know, that was Saturday night about 11:30. I woke up Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. and hooked up in a hospital. Like, what is going on? Where am I? Why am I here? I don't remember
Oh,
one single thing. But my widowmaker artery was 100% blocked, and
oh,
so I had a massive heart attack. Thank God my wife was able to push the bathroom door open. She jumped in there, started CPR. My daughter was able to call 911 within seconds, literally seconds. There was a police officer at the end of our street doing patrol, and he jumped in, got me out of the bathroom, continued CPR. By the time the paramedics got there, it took them time to put the paddles on me 3 times to get my heart restarted. And
wow.
so they finally got me out of there. They got me over to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, it stopped 2 more times, and then they got me in and put a stent in. And so I mean, it was a total miracle that I'm still here talking today. And about a month after was recovering from that heart attack, the hospital actually had a big luncheon. They invited everybody from the police officer, the EMTs, the firefighters, the people at the hospital, the doctors, the nurses. I got to meet everybody. That they said over 50 people had a hand in saving my life that night, and I got to meet
Wow.
them all at a luncheon, and it was, man, it was an awesome memory. But yes, I've recovered. I haven't wrestled a whole lot since then. Probably half a dozen shows a year, and I haven't
Yeah.
wrestled since this past March of 2024. And if I don't know if I'm going to do a retirement match like a lot of wrestlers do. I'm not so sure, but I'm fine right now if I walked away and didn't do any more. But we'll see.
Right.
So anyway, so I'm very fortunate to be here today and to be able to still be talking to you.
That's awesome. Well, and you know the joke about retirement matches, right? You know, Ric Flair had his last match ever and then was like, "Ooh, I think I should do another one." So maybe you just
I
walk
know
away
that's
not
why I'm
doing
just
one.
like, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, well, tell me, so what aspects of being a wrestler versus what aspects of being a promoter would you say are the most difficult and the most rewarding?
That I'd say let's start with most difficult.
Okay.
I'd say the most difficult would be um, you wear many hats, and
Mhm.
um, and nobody loves it as much as you do. Everybody
Right.
wants to be a part, but nobody loves it like you do. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like your baby, you know. And it's like a pastor in a church. You are there, you are fully committed, you are in all the way, and yet and sometimes you're cleaning the toilets, sometimes you're
Yep.
doing the job, but that's to be successful you have to be able to want to be able to do all those jobs so that you understand them and do them with a willing heart, because you do it begrudgingly and everybody sees you doing it that way, then it just becomes problematic. But I tell you what has helped the ministry the most is me and Beth got married in 2013, and since she came along, we have seen phenomenal growth the last 12 years since she is,
Mhm.
or 11 years since she's been here. I don't know what it was, just us working together as a team, or just, having somebody that was 100% behind me, or what. But I'm telling you, man, Beth is the best, and everybody knows it. all these guys
That's
I bring
awesome.
in from out of town, they want to come from out of town. They always stay at our house. We always put them up at our house because they said, man, y'all treat us like family. And they're like, well, we're coming down here to see Beth, not, you're just a bonus. Which is really
Nice.
true. I'm okay with that. But it is difficult keeping, because you got so many different personalities. A lot of wrestlers have big personalities, and keeping them all happy. I'd say that's probably the most difficult, and just keeping it running. Because I mean, you know how in the last 25 years, I mean, the cost of everything has gone up, from making merchandise to gas to vehicles to wrestling rings to gear. I mean, everything's gone up. So I mean, when we
Yeah.
first started doing our events, when we got a warehouse and started doing events, we did them for free. I mean, we
Hmm.
just and we gave people free pizza from CC's Pizza, and so
Wow.
I mean that's how long ago it was, and it's of course not like that anymore. But anyway, and I'd say the most rewarding is we are different because here CWF, here's my CWF Carolinas shirt, and
Nice.
at CWF, of course, we share the gospel, so that's what makes us different from everybody else. And we want to be able to have people come and enjoy a good wrestling show, see some good matches, but more importantly, we want them to walk out of there with their eternity address changed, and if
Hmm.
they don't already. And man, we've made some great friends, and they're like family to us over the years. And so I just that's been the most rewarding, and seeing some young guys that come into the ministry and they're all about the wrestling, and then all of a sudden they you start seeing God changing their heart over time. And the last few years, me and Phil have really been on the discipleship part of it, and discipling these young guys. And man, that's been very rewarding for me these last few years.
That's awesome. That's incredible. Yeah, you mentioned Phil. I was in his training class, and obviously I took a different path, but he's been there with you for a long time now. I mean, I was there, what, 2002, something like that,
He
2003.
started in 2003, and he
Okay, so
wrestled
that'd
all
be
the way
two.
up. He got 20 years in. He got his 20 years exactly
Wow.
in the ring, and he retired. He does commentary on the shows full time or with the group. Since then, and he's been my best friend all these years, and I mean we still hang out and
That's awesome.
still get together. And I mean he's what an awesome ministry partner to have, and to see his growth over the years has been phenomenal. We've been on mission trips around the world together. I mean, I really have shared life with this guy.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, a few more questions. You talked about like people wanting to get in for the ministry versus wanting to get into wrestling. Like, what would you say is an eye opener for people on the wrestling side wanting to get into wrestling? Is it the pain? Is it the hours? It's like if somebody watching this is like, "Ooh, I want to become a professional wrestler someday." What would you say to them in your little recruiting message?
I would say come ready to put in the work because it is very difficult. I think what they see on TV is the finished product. They don't
Oh, that's
see
good.
everything that goes into getting to that point. And it is a lot of pain. It is a lot of hard work. And, and some people just aren't athletic. This is a very athletic sport to be involved in. And that's why you see WWE bringing on these former Olympians and people from other sports and stuff, because the athleticism is unbelievable. The way that you have to train and look the part too. So it's not just training in the ring; it's working out outside the ring. It's with your diet, what you're eating. I mean, it's a complete lifestyle overhaul for a lot of people. I don't think a lot of young people these days are willing to put that kind of commitment into it.
Hmm. Hmm. That's good. That's good. So commitment being the number one, change of attitude. I know you said maybe even like coming into a culture that you don't understand. Like we don't have to expose the wrestling secrets or whatever, but there's a culture that wrestling has that is fairly unique. There's honor to it. Making sure that you're being there for the other person. And I know you've said that you kind of clashed with some of the culture that you saw in these other federations. What was it? You don't have to name names or whatever, but what was it that surprised you about kind of the not the dark side of wrestling like Vice, but you know what I mean, like some of the darker sides of just this industry.
Well, what I couldn't believe is if you're going to call yourself an athlete, you need to, like I just mentioned, the workout, the regiment, the routine, what you eat and stuff, and some of the things these guys were doing is putting in their bodies was not what you would think a prime athlete would be wanting to do, and just and everybody gets into wrestling for different reasons. Some people grow up watching it and they're big fans. They think, oh, I can do this, and now it's a little bit harder than it looks on TV. And then some people get in it because they think they're going straight to the WWE and or AEW, and everybody's got goals, but I think you got to be realistic. And wrestling is the one professional sport that I know will slap you in the face with reality if you're not ready for it and prepared for it. And so remember those old WWE Tough Enough shows, and
Oh
you
yeah.
see these guys come in there and have, I mean, they had big personalities but remember the physical part of it just tore them up. I mean, they had to be in absolutely phenomenal shape, and you really do, because you are going to have injuries. You just got to fight through them and keep yourself in the best shape possible. But it is, I played football my whole life, coached football my whole life, and it has been pro wrestling is definitely the most demanding sport that I've ever seen or been a part of.
Wow. Wow. So you mentioned that you're getting close to, or have gotten towards that retirement stage. As you kind of look back, what's the legacy that you hope people remember, and what's next for both you and for the CWF?
Well, I'll tell you what. Yes, we did 50, I think 55 shows again last year in 2023, and we did 9 in the month of December. And man, I was tired. I was really tired at the end of the year, and then we had a few weeks off, and then we picked right back up January 11th of this year and did 8 of the first 9 weeks, and then we had a 2-week break, and then we did 5 of the next 6 weeks, and so it took us all the way almost to the end of school, and I really started feeling this pull that maybe my time is up. Maybe it's time to step away and let somebody younger take over. And I mean, it'd been August last month. August was 25 years since that idea first entered my head, and I started
Wow.
praying about it. And so me and Beth began praying about it, and we talked to some of our guys, and some of the guys have been with me for a while. We made that transition, and on August the 6th, just last month, we officially told the rest of the team, and we handed it off to like I said, some of the guys have been there for a while, and let them take it and run with it. And they're going to put their own stamp on it, and it's going to be great. They're going to make it. They talked about, hey, this is the new chapter of CWF for the next 25 years. I'm excited to see what they're doing. And
Nice.
but I'll tell you what, my legacy is, I just hope people know that I loved the Lord first, and I really had a passion for seeing people come to know Jesus, and I still do. It's not like it stopped. It's just going to be a different. Beth and I are going to have a different path of doing it. Probably next year, but I mean, CWF is still continuing, still going strong, and people are still going to keep supporting it, please, and keep those guys going, because they are some great ministers of the Lord. I see it firsthand. I saw it every week when in Bible study, and the way they shared their testimony, the way they prepared for gospel presentations at the end of the wrestling show. But man, I was just somebody that God picked me to get this thing rolling, and man, I just want people to know that Rob and Beth love Jesus and loved seeing people come to know the Lord, and that's always been the main focus.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And, if somebody's out there and they're like, man, I want to get involved, you already mentioned like, hey, the hard work, the athleticism, the heart, the sacrifice. I found you guys in the back of a wrestling magazine. There was a little ad for
Yeah.
Christian wrestling, and I think it's at Dallas, but it was like, it was Rockwell, Texas. You just never know how these things. You mentioned you kind of had a random, hey, somebody said I should, consider this. You never know what that calling is, what that tug is. So, the next AJ Styles could be part of what what God does with CWF going forward, and the fact that you got
Yeah.
this not only started but 25 years. I mean, that is a an amazing legacy to leave, to have, to continue. So, man, just want to celebrate that and say thank you for that. Anything else you want to say? Before we'll end this video and go back to the main podcast episode, and then you and I can chat for a minute after. But anything you want to say to close things out?
I want to finish off with one story. Pro wrestling has kind of pulled back the curtain over the years. You kind of get to know the people a little bit better, than you used
Right.
to. And I just want to say that, you know, I know a lot of people love the way AJ Styles wrestles. They love, his music, intro music, everything, and he hasn't done anything with us for years. He's been under contract with,
Right.
with other companies. But I just want to tell you that dude. I cannot talk about him enough. He is just absolutely the ultimate dad. I mean, husband. I mean, wrestler. Everything. So I want to tell. If I'll finish with this quick story. So we have this super fan of ours. He's in a wheelchair, and he's been
Yeah.
coming to our show since he's 11 years old. He's
Wow.
33 now, and he's had over 80 surgeries. And we almost lost him a few years ago. He was in the hospital, and it was having something was going wrong. And his dad called me, and he said, "Hey, Rob," he said, "Emilio's not doing well, man. I don't know if he's going to make it. If you guys
Wow.
want to come see him, man, it'd mean the world to us." And so, I reached out to AJ and told him this story, and I said, "Hey," I said, "you are his favorite wrestler. He always talks about you." So from the video, AJ would look like he was at the bottom of underneath the arena somewhere against a brick wall, and he cut about a 30-second promo, personalizing it just for Emilio. And so when we went to go see him at the hospital, we're there, and he had a tube in him. He couldn't talk, but he had his eyes open and stuff, and anyway, he was had been sedated and stuff, so he didn't look real good at the time. Anyway, I said, Emilio, I got something for you. I think you're gonna like it. So I put my phone up there and showed him that video. Oh my God! I mean, it's like this lifeless body almost came alive,
Wow.
and it took AJ 30 seconds to do that, and it brought. I mean, what kind of hope can it bring to somebody like that? That's your biggest fan. And fortunately, Emilio survived, and he is still with us today. And but that video I know it meant the world to him.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so cool. I love that. I love that, and I'm sure you've got 100 more stories that I mean, it's such a legacy. So usually we give people a chance to say like, hey, if people want to follow you, where would they go? What would they do? I know your chapter's changing, but if they want to follow you or if they want to follow CWF, how would they find you guys?
But probably Facebook and Instagram are the best. Christian Wrestling Federation like I said, on both of those, Facebook and Instagram. Follow, and they'll have their shows posted on there when they're coming to your town or whatever. And then Rob Vaughn, and that's Vaughn. You can follow me on my Facebook page, and usually my wife is attached on there somewhere. And we're going to take a sabbatical. We're going to take some time off this fall and just rest a little bit, and because she's been right there with me in this thing the whole time. And it's been amazing doing ministry with her, and I'm not done because man, this girl, she's good,
That's
and
awesome.
she's a great speaker, and she's a fireball, and she's got a great story, and anyway, she loves the Lord, and so we're gonna take some time off, but man, yeah, follow us on social media and see what's next. But man, it's so good to see you. It's amazing how we can go
Thanks.
20 years being apart, but still being able to keep up today with social media and stuff. So I thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thank you for being a part of that. And for those listening, we're going to transition back to the podcast episode, but be sure to follow the CWF and, give Rob a shout. And big congratulations on, 25 years in the wrestling industry, retiring, well-deserved rest. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lee.
And we're back.
And
I
we're
always,
back.
I always love that 1 second pause, and then all of a sudden we're just right back anyway. So if you're watching on Twitch, you need to go back and watch, and we'll get the audio out. But yeah, it's a good interview with Rob. It was great to reconnect after literal years and years. And there is a part of me that misses like that version of reality where instead of going back to college, I would have continued on the indie wrestling scene, but. I think my body's in better shape because of it. So, yeah. Anyway, Rusty, over to you.
In WWE TV, we are a little over a week away, maybe a week and 2 weeks, not quite 2 weeks away from Bad Blood taking place in Atlanta, Georgia. Hometown of Cody Rhodes at the State Farm Arena, October 5th. Lee, this card is coming together in a way that makes me really, really want to watch this show.
Okay.
However, here's the surprise. Most of these matches we've already seen in some form or some capacity on another PLE or even a Monday Night
Okay.
Football. Do you want to talk Bad Blood predictions, or do you want to talk about some of these matches and storylines leading up to it?
I'm good either way. I feel like if we do predictions next week, they might have a few of the things in line. But then again, it seems like they've. Let's talk the lead up to it because so up until this week when they went to USA, I had not had the ability to watch SmackDown, but I did get to see the Roman Cody promo, like the Fast and Furious style, and oh my goodness, I just got to say, they can't do that all the time for wrestling promos, or it'll feel hokey. This one felt like it was an alternate reality almost the way they were talking, but the way they set that up and just the honest, like Roman Reigns is really growing as an actor. Really, really growing as an actor. I thought he outshined Cody in every way, shape, and form in that promo, but it was a good back and forth. And just that last where they step to each other and then pause, the fact that Cody backed down, I was like, ooh, that was... they shouldn't have had Cody back down. But the way they ended it with the "you're in my way," and then he moves out of the way and then goes, "you're in my way in life," and walked off, I was like, that is one of the best promos I have ever heard. That was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm more excited about than Cody Rhodes, my favorite wrestler?
What's that?
I'm so excited to see Dominic in a shark cage dangling above the ring while the two women, the two loves of his life, brawl it out. That is going to be hilarious. I don't know if you remember the last time I think I saw a shark cage in WWE. I'm pretty sure.
It starts with the letters NZO.
And you can't teach that. Yeah, he was hanging up in a shark cage, and I think he figured out a way to get out, didn't he? And kind of hung and dangled there for a little bit.
Yeah, he baby oiled himself up and then slid through the bars, but he kind of slid through the bars and then just fell off a cliff.
It's been years. I also saw another promotion use a shark cage.
Yeah.
And the girls couldn't figure out how to get it unlocked with the key they had been given. And so the wrestlers turned sideways and simply walked out of the cage.
Which is, that broke the illusion, didn't it?
Yep. So anytime a shark cage is involved, something hilarious is bound to happen, and the fact that Dominic is associating it with going back behind bars is the funniest
That's awesome.
thing. And he's telling Liv, "I can't go back. They can't lock me up again. I can't do no more time."
Right.
We're talking about like a 10-minute match, dangling above the ring in a cage. And he's making it sound like he served his hard time and he can't go back. Oh
Right.
man, it's so good. They keep
That's so
finding a way to get more entertainment out of this story, and I love
Right.
it. I'm here for it.
They're doing so good with Dominic Mysterio. As Bunders says in the chat, it's a variation of the custody match between Eddie and Ray. Like if they play that up and have Rhea come out in like full Eddie Guerrero entrance and stuff like that. Of course, then this hit weird. Oh goodness. Okay, so if Liv dresses up like Rey Mysterio, that's going to be really weird for Dom. Like that has some weird connotations to it. Never mind. Anyway.
Well, let's say this. Lee, what would happen if this storyline grows to a point where they actually put custody of Dominic back on the line? To where, Mommy puts him on a leash and leaves that night with him as her submissive possession.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
I think we're heading there. The PG era is so over, and they're hardcore Frenching on TV with tongues, and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
This is weird. It's getting weird to where Dom is going to be in a leather mask with a zipper on the mouth,
He's going to be called Karrion Kross. Anyways. So, I was at Raw a few weeks ago when it was here in Denver, and I will just say, when you talk about like, they pipe in crowd noise and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't like, it's deafening in here and the way that they hype it up. Oh, look, confetti. But it was definitely like every second that Dom tried to open his mouth, the entire arena was just boo, boo. And it was very loud. Other people came out where I didn't watch it on TV, but like Alpha Academy comes out, like 3 people golf clapped and were like, yay, you guys exist. But Dom, Rhea, and Priest legitimately just nonstop cheers, boos. The one that surprised me the most, because I personally don't care about his gimmick and all that, was Jey Uso. Jey Uso was 100% as over as they say he is in that crowd. But Dom, I think, had the loudest reactions out of everyone, and it wasn't close. So Dom is resonating with people. Whatever they're doing with him, he is the guy you want to hate. I think he's already had a Hall of Fame career, and he's just getting started. So,
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this on the show. I'm going to go for it. You feel free to shut me down if not. The hottest thing happening in wrestling is the new Netflix documentary that debuted yesterday.
Allegedly.
I don't know what's in it. I am going to have to sign up for Netflix today just so that I can watch it. I've had very few things interest me in my lifetime to where I would sign up for a streaming service just to see one documentary.
Wow.
Any thoughts on it? You don't have to use his name.
We'll just keep using allegedly. So on the one hand, I've heard comes across as a complete takedown piece. In fact, allegedly himself broke his silence on X for the first time in a long time to basically say, like, I don't regret being a part of this documentary, but they took the predictable path of forgetting basically that the Mr. McMahon character and allegedly himself are different things. Like they conflated the two together. Man, there are things I've heard, like, for example, I know, again, we can't talk too much about it, but it is WWE canon now. Paul Heyman apparently has a moment on there where he talks about allegedly talking to his son and saying, "You want this company? You take that," like handing him a sharp utensil and saying, "You take this and you stab me through the heart right now, and you take this company from me, and let me let you know this: if you don't do it, I will not respect you. I will not respect you if you don't literally stab me to death right now and take this company from me." And
Nice.
I'm like, if that is true, first of all, it allegedly sounds like the character that we've all heard rumors about. But like, if that's what's in this thing, like, yeah, I do want to see it. But then the other side of me is like, we're giving ratings to a person who allegedly has been doing some things that I don't want to see glorified. I don't want to see remembered. Not like
Right.
his sins shall be forgotten, but like I want him to become a footnote in history because of all the things that have happened. And instead, this is sparking a I was going to make a comment. It's like other documentaries that are very popular because they're making a scene out of certain people. And man, I don't know. On the one hand, I don't want to give it ratings. On the other hand, I'm wildly intrigued.
Right. And one thing I read was, again, I have to say allegedly, the whole show allegedly.
Yeah.
So one thing I read was that he recently tried to buy the rights to this documentary shortly before it was released so they could bury it.
Oh,
Uh, that's, I don't know, that's an interesting, um, whatever, take.
right.
And it would make sense, I guess, if I thought something was going to ruin me, I would try to prevent it from happening.
Right.
Um, but then you go, well, but is he already ruined, right?
Oh,
Is he
yeah.
already ruined? Is this thing actually gonna, would that have mattered at all?
Right.
Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
So
I mean, to a degree, yeah. I mean, so here's the reality about Netflix, which is why WWE is partnering with him. Which also this makes the whole Netflix deal wild. The fact that this came out just a couple months before they're about to be over there as their home is Netflix puts an exposure onto WWE that legitimately they haven't had since NBC did Saturday night's main event and broadcast it to like 40, 50 million people or whatever it was. Like
oh yeah,
legitimately that was the highest exposure still to this day that they've had was when Dick Ebersol did the Saturday night on NBC and stuff like that. However, so that's going to be like, this is putting that name in the ears and on the eyes of people who never would have considered wrestling, but they're like, oh, this is the number one documentary. This is the number one charting thing on Netflix. Of course I'm going to watch it. The other side of it is, do we want, like, is that what, we as wrestling fans, we as those who have been a part of this since we were kids, do we want that to be what non-wrestling people associate the business with? Is this kind of controversy? Hopefully when Raw goes to Netflix, they can prove some things, etc. What I do find ironic, though, Wrestle Talk's news episode yesterday was talking about the McMahon documentary coming out and how it looks like a hit piece and how it looks like it's allegedly, going to ruin his character and all that. And then they just put up a thing of the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, which, again, regardless of how you feel about the Ultimate Warrior, there's problems there. But that was a WWE sanctioned, an allegedly person sanctioned hit piece that just buried the Ultimate Warrior. And then they had to do some PR to try and get him back when they put him in the Hall of Fame. This is on that level. This is like recompense for what that guy did to on the Ultimate Warrior DVD. So it's wild.
well,
It's a wild thing.
here's what's really wild to me is this is the WWE's top business partner that's releasing these documentaries.
Yeah.
So like, I almost think, okay, so like Jerry Jones, the controversial owner of the Dallas Cowboys, for
Okay.
years he said all news is good news.
Right.
all news because they'll be talking about you.
Right.
So he doesn't mind bad press. He doesn't
Right.
mind critique. He doesn't mind getting slammed
Right.
because he said, "Hey, if we're the most talked about team in the country, the most polarizing team in the country, it's going to equal max profits. And the
Right.
Dallas Cowboys are the most profitable franchise in any sport.
Wow.
So I don't
There
really
you
know
go.
that this thing's going to hurt the company or the bottom
No.
line.
No,
So,
especially because they've done a decent job of saying he's gone, he's not a part of things anymore, blah blah blah. I think in Netflix's mind, they release this with enough of a window that then they can start building Raw, and
right.
I would not be surprised if you see. I mean, I know Netflix doesn't really do promos a lot and stuff like that, but if you start to see video vignettes of like, how this documentary was the number one thing for 3 weeks on Netflix. Well, now come see what it is all based on.
Yeah.
WWE Raw joins
Yeah.
Netflix in
I think,
December.
yeah, Netflix doesn't want to hurt their bottom line at all.
Yeah, no, they're going to
So
be
I,
profiting
I,
from this.
I have to believe whoever, all parties concerned, TKO, Netflix, etc., are all viewing this as this is going to make us a lot of money. Let's do
Wow.
it. It's going to make us a lot of money.
Wow.
So that's all I got for today.
Yep.
Talk with your
Well,
factions. Let them know you're leaving for the Champions Chat faction at the end of the
it's
MLC.
not us.
And we'll see you in the top 100. I don't know if I'll actually join it, but,
Wow.
We'll end with what we started with, right?
That's right. Bye.